start the fight, breaking down the walls in the dead of night. I don't come for peace, I come for the storm. Fanboys melt quick when the truth gets warm. Saw content's high, I'm collecting those tears. Just got started, but I'm cutting through fears. I'm not here for brand deals, I'm not for sale. I expose your lies, rip off the veil.
Let's talk about what's really going on here, because this situation isn't just frustrating, it's infuriating. What we're witnessing is the complete misuse of public resources. Taxpayer money is being funneled into helping massive video game corporations that are already making more profit than they know what to do with. And what's even more pathetic is how the fanboys, especially the Nintendo fanboys, are celebrating this as like some sort of victory. They're out here clapping like a trained seal in a circus going, "Arr, arr, arr, thank you, Daddy Nintendo, arr, arr, arr," cheering for the same companies that wouldn't hesitate to pull the plug on their favorite game or shut down an entire legacy library if it meant boosting the next quarter's profit margins. These companies don't care about you, they don't care about your loyalty, they care about shareholders, and the fact that some people are treating this as a win just shows how deep the corporate BS goes. This isn't something to celebrate, it's not a triumph, it's an embarrassing example how deeply corporate interests have embedded themselves into public policy and federal government. And maybe, just maybe, instead of Nintendo spending resources going after people pirating older games that aren't even that relevant anymore, they could focus on actually improving the value of the products they sell. How about lowering the price of their overpriced game? Or here's a radical idea: if you're going to charge $80 for a game, maybe include a real story, something with actual substance instead of a recycled content and shallow design. That would be better use of their money than lobbying the government to do their dirty work. So now let's look at what the FBI has actually been doing. Are they solving violent crimes, working on missing person cases, helping to fix the broken systems in cities where drug crises are turning entire neighborhoods into ghost towns? No. What are they doing is putting out press releases bragging about taking down video game piracy sites. That's their big achievement. That's what they're spending time and resources on. And it's worth asking why. Why now and why this? The answer is obvious. It's not because they care about public safety or digital ethics, it's because these corporations lobbied them into action. Big companies like Nintendo and Sony pushed for this. They applied pressure, they waved their influence, and the FBI responded. Not to the people, but to the money. They're not protecting anyone, they're protecting assets, and let's not pretend it's anything more noble than that. Their own statement from the Atlanta division says that this dismantled multiple online marketplaces for pirated games. Let's be real, this is the digital equivalent of shutting down a flea market selling bootleg DVDs in 2005. It's outdated, petty, and discontinued from the larger issue that matters. According to them, there were 3.2 million downloads between February and May of this year, resulting in an estimated $170 million in lost revenue. That number is absurd. It assumes every person who downloaded a game would have paid full price for it anyways. That's not reality. Most of these downloads came from people who weren't going to spend a dime anyway. This isn't about stopping crime, it's about protecting profit margin, and is doing so under the false narrative that piracy equals guaranteed lost sales. That logic is broken and always has been. Let's also talk about access. The modern digital landscape is hostile to ownership. Games are constantly being delisted, licensing agreements expire, platforms shut down, and if you think buying a digital game means you actually own it, think again. At any moment, that game can disappear and you'll be left with nothing. Piracy in many cases is the only way people can preserve or revisit older games. Some titles have simply gone, no longer sold, no longer supported, so when people turn to emulation or ROMs, they're not trying to steal, they're trying to access something the market has already discarded. And in plenty of cases, piracy leads to purchases. People try a game and enjoy it, and then go out and buy it legitimately. It's a modern version of what rental stores used to do. And back then, no one was calling that theft, so why now? Let's talk about what they're actually going after here, because it sure isn't cutting-edge next-gen piracy. No, they're targeting sites that hosted outdated last-gen titles. We're talking about games from the original Switch and PS4 era. It's 2025, the industry has moved on. Most people aren't checking out these games anymore. They're not flying off the shelves, so who exactly is being protected here? This isn't about safeguarding a thriving marketplace, it's about corporations flexing their muscles to erase anything they can't directly profit from. No matter how old or irrelevant it became, it's pathetic. They're treating the preservation of forgotten titles like it's some criminal empire. Meanwhile, the games in question have already had their moment, and most of them aren't even being sold anymore. This isn't justice, it's corporate cleanup. If you visit those sites now, you'll see a standard Caesar banner. The FBI slapped their name across it in cooperation with the Dutch. Yes, even international tax dollars are being wasted to defend video game corporations. And it's not a dramatic seizure either. There's no big bust, no justice being served. It's just a web page that has been quietly taken offline, but it costs money, time, resources, all to protect 8-year-old games that most people aren't playing anymore. This is what our public funding is being used for, not for real problems, not for helping people, but to protect billion-dollar companies from a handful of piracy sites. Now listen, if you're against pirating modern games that are currently for sale, I hear you. I get that perspective. You want to support developers, you want to see new content, that makes sense. But once we start talking about delisted, unavailable, or obsolete games, that's a different conversation. At that point, piracy becomes the last line of defense for game preservation, and frankly, it's the only one that works. Do you think Nintendo, Sony, or Microsoft are working with preservation groups to protect the history of this medium? No, because there's no profit in it. They don't care about legacy. They only care about control. And sure, I get it. Some of these games are still available for purchase. That's true, but let's not ignore the bigger issue here. A huge chunk of them, especially when it comes to Nintendo, are pushing 8 years old and somehow still being sold at full price. Nintendo has built a reputation for never lowering their prices, even for games that are long past their prime. If they actually made their older titles more affordable, like they used to, or stop overcharging for games that are clearly aren't worth premium pricing, maybe people wouldn't feel the need to turn to these sites in the first place. And here's a thought, how about making those games available on other platforms? Broaden access, make it fair, and I guarantee piracy would naturally go down. But instead of adapting, they double down on greed, and then they cry foul when people look for alternatives. The Stop Killing Games movement is picking up. People are tired of being told their purchases don't matter once the server shut down. They're tired of losing access to content they paid for. But changing the system, that's a mountain to climb, especially when the federal authorities are more interested in helping corporations. Taking down a few ROM sites won't stop piracy, it just shifts it elsewhere. All the FBI is doing is forcing people to dig deeper. And this kind of enforcement shouldn't even be the government's job. If Nintendo wants a site gone, let them pursue it through civil channels. Let them use their own teams. Don't make taxpayers foot the bill for their brand protection. At the core of all of this is one undeniable truth. This isn't about protecting people, it's about shielding corporate profits. And when corporations are this embedded in our government, it becomes clear why nothing ever really changes. We're living through real economic hardships. People are struggling just to make ends meet. Rent is up, groceries cost more than ever, and gas prices still haven't come down. Meanwhile, the very corporations we're using public resources to protect, they're doing just fine. Actually, they're doing better than fine. They're slashing jobs, hiking prices, and raking in record-breaking profits quarter after quarter. And yet you've got fanboys, especially Nintendo ones, jumping up and down like circus performers, acting like this is some kind of victory, celebrating a piracy crackdown like it's a personal benefit for them. For what? So they can score points in the console war? So they can feel morally superior over people who didn't have to pay $60 or $70 for a game that probably hasn't dropped in price in almost a decade? Let's be honest, this isn't about protecting intellectual property, this is about spite. This is about some folks being bitter that they pay full price and someone else didn't. That's it. Newsflash, you're not gonna get a share of the profits. It doesn't affect you. Your life is someone pirates an old game. And it's not actually hurting these billion-dollar corporations. They're still turning massive profits and expanding every year. I already know some of the fanboys are going to be in my comments, out crying like crazy, trying to defend this nonsense, and to be blunt, if this video offends you, good. Maybe it should, because if the gaming community, especially the most loyal fan base, held these companies accountable instead of constantly making excuses for them, we might not have been in this mess to begin with. And now it's time to read off the members of the channel. And from now on, I will always go from the very first member to the newest member. But we got Koros Objective, Maximilian Pegasus 88, Mad Fox 94, Watari, Shade Milkman, Oh No Is Justin, Brian Payne, Jay Wesby 65, Andy Ritz, Sea Stars Piplup, and Cam. Thank you so much for becoming members of the channel. And if you truly enjoy this content, why don't you think about becoming a member? It's only $1 a month. You get special emotes, badges, and you get a shout out at the end of each video until it becomes too long, and then it'll be turned into a credit roll. And also, I got an awesome merch lined up for you guys. I got amazing shirts, hoodies, I got coffee mugs, I got desk mats, I got a bunch of different kinds, so why don't you check it out also. And please like, share, and subscribe, and until next time guys, stay vigilant.
You can cry in the comments, but you won't survive. Like and subscribe if you feel that vibe. We're hard